Great afternoon, probably when you get this. Great afternoon. It is what it takes. Appreciate you all for checking in. It is October 30th, November. No, it's October 30th, 2 days before November, one day before Halloween. Definitely want you all to have a safe and enjoyable Halloween. Our neighborhood turns up on Halloween, so I'm excited about that. Have the candy. I don't know if I have to take kids out this year, but I'll definitely be handing candy out, probably sitting outside and watching all the cool costumes up until about my bedtime, 8:30. Then I'm shutting. I'm leaving the candy. I'm leaving the candy bowl outside and I'm shutting it down. But the neighborhood pretty much. I mean, we go all out for it. Guys, remember to like, subscribe, share, comment. I'm just gonna ask you that one time, depending on what platform it is that you're on. Remember this show drops on Mondays, right around 4:30. You're watching it, so maybe you caught the replay, etc. Remember to watch my brother Joel's show. It starts with me each and every Wednesday, 12:30. Community Beacon, which is each and every Friday at 6:30. We had an awesome conversation on Friday, I thought, and we actually logged off and still had a conversation for about 20 or 30 minutes afterwards. So always good listening and going back and forth, gaining lots and lots of clarity. This week we are actually just going to jump right into a topic that I thought was interesting. Someone sent me this clip on Instagram. I'm going to pull it up for you. We're going to listen to it, and then I have a couple of comments in regards to it. So let's go. I know there's a better way for me to do this as well, but let's see. And I make sure that you all can hear it. All right, cool. And if you can't, I'll send it to you. Okay, let me see if I can go to the. All right, let's go.
Mistake what I'm saying. The knowledge your child possesses, what they know,
Start from the beginning.
is clearly a function of exposure in the environment. But their traits, their abilities, their makeup, their personality.
Let me click it. So this is what a psychologist explains why where you live will dictate your kids' lives. So let's listen.
Is not. You had more to do with your child's life by where you chose to live than by anything you will ever do inside that home. Short of abuse, neglect, or malnutrition, the rest of it is just trivial variation. It's where you live. Why? Because out-of-home influences are more powerful in shaping the life course of your child than in-home influences are.
Amen.
And those out-of-home influences are peer groups, other adults, neighborhoods, resources, schools, and the larger community that you made available to this child. That is how you shape your child's life course. The second biggest influence is also out of your hands, and that's genetics. And you don't get to determine that. Now, do not mistake what I'm saying. The knowledge your child possesses, what they know, is clearly a function of exposure in the environment. But their traits, their abilities, their makeup, their personality is not. You had more to do with your child's life by where you chose to live.
I want. This is so they said this is Dr. Russell Barkley. If you're looking at it, and he's a psychologist. He went to school for this. I'm assuming he has some experience as well in a practice. Let's look at some. Sometimes you got to look at the comments. Mad double G's or Mod double G's says he or she definitely disagrees. A great parent has nothing to do with the residents. They said nothing about whether a parent is great or not. Thickums 90. Thickums 90 says the way this economy is set up, where you choose to live, she has it in quotation marks, goes according to your budget. Okay. And then I'll finish it off with this one that says bad galof. Neighborhood matters, school matters, resource matters, the end. It's pretty cut and dry and simple, right? I mean, but we don't often think about it, and sometimes it does take a psychologist for you to explain it. And I can't even explain the consciousness. I've seen so many different sides of the track, so to speak, and there's definitely a different conscious depending on what side of the track you're on, what is entertained, because there's a story on each side of the track, and we all get stuck to our story. So let's talk about the first thing. Number one is exposure. I always thought exposure was so important. That's why when I worked at with the city of West Palm Beach at the Youth Empowerment Center, one of my biggest things for these kids when I was working with them, we work with teens between the ages of 12 and 19. We really inherited the entire neighborhood. We really, because we dealt with kids that were as young as 5 and 6 that would come in and come out and want, give them snacks or talk to them for a little bit in the neighborhood, all the way up to, I mean, you had people that were older than me that were calling me Mr. Mike while I was working there. And I definitely appreciated that. I also have experience in, a third world country, Jamaica, not in the city, not Kingston and not Montego Bay and not Negril, but in the country living. It was, it was like camping. I tell people say, why don't you go camping? I said, I used up all my camping hours when when my parents would send me to Jamaica for my summers. We had to go down, and there was a community water pipe at the time. You had to go fill your water for the day, to take baths, to brush your teeth. You hand washed your clothes. Yeah, it was no electricity. Everything was ran on kerosene. Kerosene was what you traded for with your money or whatever it was to keep your lights on. You battled mosquitoes. You took care of the farm animals. I mean, real country, third world country living, and still happy, still a kid, still enjoy myself. But I do understand the conveniences and some of the things that we don't necessarily, some of the things that we take for granted in life. So I've been exposed to all that. And as I said in the beginning episodes of Foundational Living, I also went to school on the island, Palm Beach Island. So had friends there, went to some birthday parties there, went to bar mitzvahs there. I mean, interacted with the day school, etc. So I ran the gamut of it. Exposure is huge. So getting back to going to the Youth Empowerment Center, one of the things that we spoke about, or what we actually did, we brought to fruition, was taking the kids to college trips, and not just college trips down the road to Miami, which getting those children out of the neighborhood was huge. Some of them, I mean, we were on the east side of town, Pinewood and Pleasant City. Some of them hadn't went to the Wellington Mall. So to take them to college tours, we did go to Miami. We did FIU tour, but we also took them to Atlanta. And we went on a college tour there. I wasn't even exposed to Atlanta at that age. And after doing the college tours, I was said, you know what? If I could go back and do it all over again, I would have went to Emory and hung out at Spelman, Spelman, Morehouse, and Clark area, CAU, the CAU area. Like, I mean, that's where I would have hung out. That's if I had my choice of doing it. But it was more so about exposing the kids to different things, because you are what you interact with and maintain every day. Like, that becomes your being. That starts to frame your story. And the longer you stay in those environments, the more you take on those environments. I had a conversation with some people over the weekend, and I saw, and this is interesting because I saw this morning, but I had a conversation with people, and I was like, wait, I started to understand, and it got real clear to me how we take from our younger age, growing up, how we grow up and the things that we grow up around. And then we bring that into our adult age, and then we form these stories. And if things don't align with our story, like Thickums 90 wrote, and the person before them, that we totally distort what exactly is going on. And we start to come up with things because they don't align with our stories. So one of the things that I got very, very clear on, and I'll talk about this in another episode, was generational wealth. And I said, these are like the 3-4 things that you need, like the average person, probably 99% of us need in order to have generational wealth or wealth or riches, etc., to start to develop. Like these are the 3 things that you essentially it's based on. But because we start to distort these things, because we lack of exposure and we don't know what we don't know, then all of a sudden these things when you start to introduce like exactly what the American dream is, because the American dream is real to this day. I don't care what they tell you. The mother and the father, the house, the picket fence, the 2.5 kids, that is it. Everything else is conjecture. Everything else is, the rose in the concrete. And that's the analogy that we tend to look at, the rose in the concrete. We will be the one, as opposed to 99% of us aren't the one. If there's one and there's 100 people, there's 99 other people that need to adhere to the basic fundamentals of the basic principles. I'm not going to call them immutable laws because there are exceptions, but basing your life on an exception is kind of interesting. So you have to be exposed to it. Okay. We go down to the things that you're around start to set your standard. It starts to set your standard. So when you start to look, let me stop sharing. How about that? When you start to look at why you are where you are, we as human beings can't help but kind of look at we start to compete. We start to look. That's this thing with social media. We start to look at these things and we start to compare our lives to these different things, not knowing all the intricate phases it takes to get people to where they are, especially if they are gifted. If you start to compare yourself to Elon Musk and the way he thinks, you've already lost. They said comparison is the killer of joy, and it's the very, very truth. But as human beings, we can't help but do it. So I'm not saying this to tell you not to do it, because it's almost like you can't. It's going to be a battle just not to do it, but you need to be aware of when and how you're doing it, and then bring yourself back in. So we start to develop these standards of, especially and specifically around people who are around us, of what exactly is possible and what is not possible. So immediately this person becomes 90. I'm just going back because I remember what she said was, well, it's how your budget is. It's how and so if you stop there, you don't really get to see any possibilities because you don't have the exposure. We spoke about that. And now your standard is something different because it's based upon the people that you are in relation to. Right? There was a saying that says you are the average of the 5 people that you hang around. It's true. And here's the thing. So, well, I'll just I'll hang out with other people. So I'll join a group. That helps. However, subconsciously, you're still going to sink back to where your mindset is. So it's like, how long am I going to hang out with this group? Because you also don't want to be the worst in the group. You don't want to be the worst. You don't want to be the best. You don't in the room, so to speak. But your subconscious is you still have to go back and deal with yourself. You're going to go back to your environment. And if mom is saying this and dad is saying this and grandma and grandfather said this, and this is the way that it goes in our family, like this starts to be your standard. So you have to consciously say, okay, this is who I am at this point in time. This is where I want to go. I want to buy this $375,000 house. How do I get it? How do I do this? So now you start to ask the different questions like, so how do I get there? What do you do? What do you did? And base it upon principles, not strategies and tactics. What's the principle? Let's run this through with the house. To give you a stand, I want to be a homeowner. Well, it's hard for you to say that you want to be a homeowner if your parents didn't own a home. Now you're making up all these excuses, right? You have to get around people who are homeowners to see exactly what it is, because I'm going to tell you the honest truth. Even if I gave you a home without you becoming a homeowner, if someone gave you the home, you would lose the home. It happens all the time. It happens all the time. People lose homes all the time because they don't understand the basics of being a homeowner. So, and then it's like, I want the best house on the block, because now you set such standards. This is amazing. You got to listen. You set such high standards that you want this mansion in Palm Beach. I'm going to go look at this mansion in Palm Beach because it's abundance and everything is possible. I believe you. I'm not going to tell you it's not possible. But once again, you put it so far out of reach in your mind because there's a part of you that says, I can't do it. So guess what? You get overwhelmed and you don't take any steps, because if this doesn't happen at this certain time, then this doesn't work. As opposed to exactly what does it look like in order to become a homeowner, because there's ways for you to become one immediately if you actually are one. You don't want to get that townhouse. It's not big enough. It's not what I envisioned. Okay. You don't want to drive 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah, that's too far. I can't live out there. No one's ever lived out. So you're not using some of the biggest things that would help you out exponentially. Time and patience. Compounding time until you're officially priced out. It happens all the time. South Florida is becoming the billionaires' playground, specifically Palm Beach County, and it's moving up into Martin County. Buying it up. I showed you a week ago that people are coming from California in droves yearly, and it's increasing because you can't beat it. They're starting to figure this stuff out. So what can you do? You need to become more highly skillful. You need to increase. So that would increase if you want to stay closer. It's either time or money, right? So you're either going to increase your money, you're going to pay with money, you're going to pay with time. You're going to leverage it either way. But either way, if you want to become a homeowner and you think it's important, and because it is one of the foundational things that building wealth is to own your property, so you're not paying 100% interest in rent and paying for somebody else's money, asset, then you need to develop an asset. The average person needs to do this. Average is not a bad word. And when I say average, I mean 95 to 99%. Most millionaires become millionaires because of real estate. No crap. No crap. No crap, Sherlock. Lastly, in regards to that, because I went off on a tangent. Lastly, in regards to that psychologist, we're talking about the story. We are creating our children's story. What is their story? Your environment is your story. This is why we have this, people, and quiet as it is kept, people are living in a stressed, depressed, post-traumatic stress disorder. I hate to put these, I hate to put these labels on people, but the symptoms are there. The criteria is being met. Where exactly are you living? Is it the best place that you can afford? That's what you need to get. Is it the best place can you afford? I'm not asking you to make your house, your house become like a prison to you, because that's what happens when you buy the biggest, baddest house on the block. But go find a house that fits your budget. Your first or your second house may not be your dream house, but you'll get there. It's just the principles of it. It's just classic principles. So I'm gonna end it there. Almost sounded like I was preaching. I get passionate. I get passionate. I'm going to end it there. I'd love to hear the question of the day. Let's get to the question. What role does environment play for you? Now look at yourself and say, what role is it playing for me? My environment. What role is my environment play for me? And really take some time to think about it. The constant conversations that you're having, that you're home with, the things that you could possibly be doing if you were in an environment that where the standard was just a little bit higher, right? Let's see what happens when we get in an environment that challenges our mindset. Think about it. If I could walk outside my house and my neighbors were neighborly, I enjoy the place. My kids, I don't necessarily have, my kids don't have to lock up their bikes, if that's the case, because we can go either way. Or this neighborhood values the standards. This neighborhood puts me in proximity to these certain places where I can, and take my kids in and out. I promise you, my neighborhood on a Saturday or a Sunday, these kids are constantly going to some kind of practice, whether it's a lot of swimming over here. There's golf, a lot of baseball, a lot of soccer, a lot of these activities are happening within these neighborhoods. And then when you go to these activities, matter of fact, we just went to the Palm Beach Gardens Fall Festival. It was awesome. It was awesome. I was dancing. Can you believe that? Like, I'm dancing in the middle of the Fall Festival, enjoying myself, me and my two sons, like we're enjoying ourselves. We're grabbing things to eat. There's environment. My son's meeting new friends. He's going, he's playing. Both, like it's a magical thing to do where that's where you live. You don't have to go on vacation. You essentially live where, you vacation where you live. And I'm not just talking about beaches. I'm talking about the entire lifestyle. Okay, so answer that question for me. Love to hear from you. Other than that, you all enjoy the rest of your day, whatever day you caught this on. This did drop on Monday. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, Mike Seville. You can DM me through here, of course, 561-412-5433. You all be blessed. I am grateful to have you. Thanks a lot. See you next week on What